Hello, everyone. Not sure how many people are tuning in for this, but the video will be posted later. So welcome to everyone, whether you are watching this or touring with us live or joining in with the virtual tour later. Our plans for John's 80th birthday here at St. Peter's are very different to those that we wanted. We planned a 2-day celebration. Right now, the hall would probably have been packed with people, live music happening, cake, of course, maybe the odd little drink or two. And as it is, we have an empty hall. But this hall is never really empty. I can always feel the presence of John and Ivan, and the others who are no longer with us. They're here in this hall today. So come with me. I'll take you on the tour that we would have taken or we would have given to people who would have been here to celebrate John's 80th birthday in person. We're just going to do it on the video. I have no script. I'm just going to talk to you as if you were here with us today. So this is St. Peter's Church Hall. It is a working church hall. You can see on the display boards lots of pictures and posters. It's from the children's groups, the Cubs, the Scouts, the Brownies, the Guides there, Link Club, Pathfinders. They all have their own display board because this is a working church hall. Often, without COVID, it would be full of children or other village groups doing various events. As it is, it's just me and you in a virtual setting. You would have come in that door there. It's raining outside, so we're not doing the outside. And we would start with going to this display board. These are photos given to us by Rod Davis, taken by his dad, James, which he allows us to use. They are laminated for protection, so there is a bit of glare. But they show what it was like on July 6, 1957, that fateful day, to use a pun, when John met Paul, the Lennon-McCartney partnership began, and the Beatles began. James was taking pictures, like many parents did, of his kids who were in a village event. The little girl smiling right at the camera is James's daughter. And of course, his son is on one of those photos as well. His son, Rod, was in a band called the Quarrymen with other schoolmates, other mates, local village mates, including, of course, John Lennon, who is there in the middle. At that point, early in the afternoon of July 6th, John the Quarrymen were taken around. They were playing as they went around the village to start the procession that started the fete for the day. John doesn't know what's going to happen to him next. I just love his expression there. You know, he doesn't know how much his life is going to change. The programme of events, that's a lot of glare there, sorry, starts with the procession. Then the fete took place on the field at the back of St. Peter's Church. It's now part of Bishop Martin School. During the day, really to keep the teenagers happy, the kids were there, let's do something for them. So the youth club band, the members of the church, John was a member of St. Peter's, he had a band. He was asked to come and play with his band to keep the local kids happy. They were scheduled to play twice. They only actually played once because things were running a bit behind. But this photo here, trying to get without glare, doing badly, taken by Jeff Rind, a friend of John's, shows John and the Quarrymen playing on the field the afternoon of July 6th. And while they were playing, a young man turned up, Paul McCartney. He'd been invited by another friend of his, a man called Ivan Vaughan, or a lad called Ivan Vaughan, lived near John, went to school with Paul. And Ivan decided that his two friends, both of whom love music, would probably get on, and it'd be a nice idea for them to meet. So Ivan Vaughan invited Paul to come along that day. Ivan is the hero of our story. And Paul turned up at the fete, and he saw John. Later remembered saying, it's in a letter he's written to the church, he looks good, I wouldn't mind being in a band with him. So this was where it began. during the afternoon of July 6th. Now, John and Paul spoke, we're pretty sure they spoke, around the time the Quarrymen appeared. Colin Hanson, the drummer, you can just see him at the back there, remembers John speaking with Paul, or speaking with somebody Colin didn't recognise, another lad. Colin is now sure it's Paul McCartney, in the old scout hut, but speaking very briefly. And what we think happened is, in that very quick chat, John had obviously said to Paul, yeah, come and have a chat with me later, show me what you can do, and invited him over to the church hall. Indeed, John, I'm just looking at the comments coming in, thanks a million, Ivan. We need to thank Ivan lots. So John invited Paul to come over to the church hall to talk more later. And around 10 to 7, we're going to move over here, Paul came in the church hall. All the sun's come out. John is clearly smiling on what we're doing. Paul came in and he walked over here. Now, it might look a bit odd as to why he walked over here, but back then, there was a big stage in the church hall. Can you see there's a very faint line in the paintwork of the wood there? And that faint line goes all around the church hall, right to that pink door. That is where the stage was fixed in the church hall. So huge stage in front of us there. The steps from that stage came down in front of this radiator. And when Paul came in the hall about 10 to 7, this is where John was sitting. He was sitting on the steps leading down from the stage. So John was sitting there. Paul came over, stood near him, probably about where I'm standing now. Go down to my dirty trainers, sorry, Mum. And this is where they chatted, where there was a more formal introduction, and where Paul showed John that he could play. Took John's guitar, turned it upside down, because of course Paul's a lefty, retuned it, played 20 Flight Rock and Bebopaloola. Paul then went up onto the stage to show he could play the piano. And I'm pretty sure, and I'm now doing this from memory, but it's in Colin Hanton's book, he played on the piano a whole lot of shaking going on. Pretty sure that was it. If Jackie Spencer was watching, she would correct me, but I think she's doing something at Strawberry Field at the moment. So showed he could play the piano, they had a bit of a chat, and then Paul went home. He went home because it was his dad's birthday the next day. It's the first birthday since his mum had died, and he didn't want his dad to be on his own, and Paul's a good lad like that. A bit later, a few days later, another friend of John's, Pete Shotton, saw Paul out in the village, in Walton Village, and said to Paul, we don't know exactly what he said, but basically, John says you can join the band if you want. Colin Hanson remembers the discussion leading up to that happening in his mum's house. And Paul said yes. Paul joined the Quarrymen. Later, of course, he introduced John to George. George joined the Quarrymen. The Quarrymen became the Beatles in 1960. Pretty much happened at the Casbah, which is why I will go with Rogue best. The Casbah may be the birthplace of the Beatles. St. Peter's is the birthplace of the Lennon-McCartney partnership. This is where the hub of the Beatles began. And it happened about here, round about here on this floor. It is the original floor, so virtually you are standing where the Beatles began. I wish you could be here to stand on this spot in person, but maybe next year. Well, fingers crossed for next year. You know, of course, that John, number 9 was a really important number to John. So we can't do John 80, but hopefully we can all be together to celebrate John 81. And of course, 8 and 1 equals 9. You might be wondering what's going on behind us, so we'll do this while we're in the part of the hall. We've had brilliant celebrations in this hall. One of the best took place in 2017 for the 60th anniversary of the day that John met Paul and the Lennon-McCartney partnership began. That year, we had the most amazing exhibition of quilts done by a Japanese lady called Yoko Kaji. And she lent us her quilts, and it was just incredible. Beautiful photographs of these on our website. But she made this one, a special one. reminding us of that special day, and it always comes to the hall for special events. So it had to come today. Our little mascot teddy bear is there as well, and he's wearing his badge remembering Trev. Trev Prelly was a great friend of the church, sadly no longer with us, but he's in here. I can feel his presence here today. Just to move aside from the Beatles, of course, St. Peter's is also very famous for Bob Paisley. Paisley family have strong connections with St. Peter's Church. Our verger, recently retired verger Graham, was Bob Paisley's son. And Bob Paisley was laid to rest in our graveyard. So we celebrate him. This is from last year when we were celebrating Bob Paisley's 100th birthday. So he's always worth talking about as well. One of the things we're trying to do, just to show you a bit of the church hall here, is you can't come to the church hall. We're going to try and bring a bit of the church to you. So we've launched our online shop today. Not only that, but this is exciting, and you are the first people to see it. We have a new design on our T-shirts, showing John sitting on the steps, or symbolising John sitting on the steps, Paul playing the guitar in front of him. And John's memory, that was the day I met Paul, that it started moving. We at the moment only have 95 T-shirts available for sale. We will be restocking, that is not in total, but we won't be restocking till after Christmas. Only available online. In the comments we'll post the link to the online shop. But if you want a very special Christmas present for the Beatle fan in your life, or treat yourself to a Christmas present, you deserve it. We all deserve nice things. These are our new T-shirts, only a very few available. This one, she doesn't actually know I'm borrowing it, belongs to Jackie Spencer. Top Beatle guide, one of the great friends of St. Peter's. Don't know if anybody caught her webinar yesterday. This is her T-shirt, which I've just borrowed on the way to giving it to her. So I can show you. You are the first people to see it. That's quite exciting. We're just going to walk over here to look at the rest of our display boards. Try not to walk too fast and make you all go dizzy. Some of you may remember Dave Peters. He gave many years of his life, the last few years of his life, showing fans around. Dave is there with two Beatle fans. Dave is playing the role of Ivan, introducing John to Paul. And that is the actual stage, the corner of the stage. Still belongs to St. Peter's Church, but it's on loan to the Museum of Liverpool. I'm not sure if it's on display at the moment. But it usually is. But that is our stage. Ros, I can't see your full comment because I'm on my phone and I'm not very technical. You are on the photograph of the Quarrymen. Welcome back, Ros, and thanks for being part of that historic moment. How cool is that? And you're here today sharing this moment with us. Thanks, Ros. That's great. Other photos, we've got more photos here from James Davis with Rod's kind permission, showing the church hall as it looked. Some of these taken in the mid-1950s, some taken just after 1957, but showing the church hall as it looked back when John and Paul met. You can just see, on that one, you can just see the steps under that man's arms. Sorry about the reflection and the glare. We have some letters here, copies of letters sent for the 40th anniversary celebration from Paul, a message from Yoko, one from Tony Blair, and one from Cynthia. There's Paul's letter there. And some photos shared to us by another friend of the church, Donna Early, showing the Quarrymen here unveiling the plaque. 40th anniversary celebrations were organised by Jean Catherall, very well known here in Liverpool. She reunited the Quarrymen and she made that great celebration happen. So thanks to Jean as well. Here we've got photos of the 60th anniversary celebrations. You can see there the quilts I mentioned, you can see them in the background, but some of the other great moments of that special 5-day music celebration. Some of you might have been here. If you weren't, maybe we'll do it again. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, but maybe we'll do it again. At the end here, we've got some photos showing inside the church. Obviously, at the moment, the church isn't open to anybody because of COVID. But usually, during the summer, we have it open. It's a beautiful church, worth a visit. And of course, John had lots of connections with the St. Peter's Church. He was in the youth club. His Uncle Robert, he never met his Uncle Robert, Uncle George's brother. It was killed in the First World War. He is mentioned on our war memorial. His name is there, R. Smith, MM. So a lot of other Lennon connections, as well as Smith family connections with St. Peter's. And of course, Stanley family connections as well, Julia's maiden name. We have to mention our Elena. We call her our Elena. She's not the Eleanor Rigby from the song. She's our Elena, and we love her. And she's no longer lonely, our Elena, because of the number of people who come to visit her. We've got here copies of her baptism record, showing there being baptized Eleanor Rigby. Whitfield Rigby was just her middle name. For anybody, she was buried with her name, not her husband's. Well, she was. It was her middle name. First name Eleanor, middle name Rigby. And then also her burial records after she'd been married, Eleanor Rigby Woods. You can see that there. So our Eleanor. We've got some photos of other more famous people who have come to St. Peter's. The Quarrymen there, Jeff Rind, Ricky Tomlinson. He's a great friend of the church. He's been Maria Eagle. Billy Bragg came and filmed here. That was great meeting Billy Bragg. Mike Taylor was the projectionist for the Hard Day's Night film, and he told me a great story about John. The projectionists had gone in. They had to work a lot longer than they thought they'd have to work, and because of the crowds outside, they couldn't leave the cinema, so they kind of got stuck inside. And apparently John felt a bit sorry for them, and he couldn't go outside either, but he got somebody to go out, bought a crate of beer apparently, and sent it up to the projectionist as a special thank you from John to the projectionist for all their hard work. And I just think that's a lovely story. I think it shows John had his moments like we all can, but it does show the kind, generous, lovely man that I lost my heart to when I was a teenager. And he still has a piece of my heart. Feet there on the spot. Those feet, one of them's mine. The little white one's mine, I think. But it's a group that we had in the church hall, included Joey Molland from Badfinger, Gary Van Sickert from Elephant's Memory Band, Mark Hudson, who worked with Ringo, Dennis Sewell from Wings, and Bob Gruen, who of course took that famous photograph of John in New York. They came. They were as excited to be here as anybody else. Moving down the display boards, members of our congregation have connections with John as well, and Paul. David Moore, lovely man in our congregation. He went to school with Paul. He also auditioned with him at the cathedral. They were in the same audition set. David says he remembers what they were asked to do. They had to sing some scales, and also once in Royal David City. David passed the audition. Paul didn't. So maybe David should have been in the Beatles. Probably Paul was good. If David had been in the Beatles, he wouldn't have been in this church, and we wouldn't have had a brilliant organ master as we did for so long. So I'm glad David's here. Other things on the display at the top there. This is a photocopy before anyone gets too excited. A picture John did as a child, which he gave to his mate David Ashton, and David gave it to the church. He thought it should be somewhere where John was remembered and people came and celebrated his life. That is a copy. The original is locked up tight in our safe. Our vicar Kip often jokes that if the church roof ever falls in, you're looking at our new roof, but I don't think he'd do that. Also here, some of the other connections of the church. John's uncle George is buried in our graveyard. We still look after him and have great, it's a privilege to look after his grave. Something there on Bob Paisley, who is also, I mentioned earlier. And those of you who have seen yesterday, St. Peter's is filmed in yesterday. All the church scenes were filmed here at St. Peter's. The end of the film, I won't spoil it, but those of you who have seen it, it's here. It was filmed here. Kip, our vicar, played Father Mackenzie in yesterday, so he's quite famous as well. And other members of the congregation were in the film as extras. We've also got here another lady who lives in the village, lent us some photographs and copies of letters which we photographed. Linda, she was a friend of Paul McCartney's. She told me, don't tell anyone I told you this. Apparently Paul used to do her English homework, and on one of them he actually signed it for her, and she would then copy it out in her own handwriting, and signed it with a little help from your friend, which is a really, really cool thing. Obviously, you should never, ever let anybody do your homework for you. I'm speaking as a teacher here, but if it's Paul McCartney and he signs it, then, maybe it's okay. So that's some of the history of this church. I'm going to come to this poster, which leads us into the final thing I just want to talk about, which is the online shop. How to bring a bit of St. Peter's to you. There is a plaque outside the church hall, and this is a copy of that, was done as a poster. This one is signed by members of the Quarrymen, by Rod Davis, Len Gary, John Duff Lowe. He wasn't here on that day, but he did appear with the Quarrymen shortly afterwards, and he's on the recording of In Spite of All the Danger, and Colin Hampton. We have only about 15 left. We have about 15 signed posters that are available for sale. Once they are gone, they are gone. We've got our brand new T-shirts. You can also get the posters without the signatures. They are laying on the famous floor. They come in these nice, solid cardboard tubes, so they can be posted out safely to you. Some of the other items we've got for sale, we found a bunch of these. They're prayer books that were used in the church in the 1950s, when, of course, John and Mimi went to church here. Not saying John ever touched them, but he might have done. Other things, we've got key rings, postcards, magnets, lovely little phone stands. I would stand my phone on it, but I'm using it to talk to you. They're rubber, so they're nice and light, so cute. They're actually called mop-top phone stands, because you can use the top to clean your screen. We had to have some of those. Shopping bags, those. And we do have our original T-shirts with the original design on. These will be phased out eventually. So, this is St. Peter's Church Hall. I wish I could have taken you on the tour in person. I can see people sharing their memories. Thanks, Patty, you're also sharing memories. What else? For Alison as well. Thank you so much. Everybody else who has tuned in to watch. Marty, sorry, I've probably just pronounced your name very badly. Paul, Vanna, Chris, Yoko, Ross, John, Mike, Alison, Patty, Yvonne, June. I think if I missed anybody, so sorry for not mentioning your name, but I'm so grateful to have you here in a virtual sense. And hopefully next year, this hall will be full again, and we will be partying, and we will be raising a glass in the hall to John for his 81st birthday and all the wonderful things he did, the wonderful music, the songs, his message of peace, and just how he's brought so many people together to be friends and share great times. So thanks so much for watching. I'm going to finish now, let you get on with your day. And happy birthday, John. Happy birthday, John.